check, check, check. Good morning. We're going to get started. Thank you very much. We have established our quorum, so we will now come to order. To give an invocation this morning, the chair recognizes Pastor Darnell Deans of Venango House Community Center of Praise and Worship. He is here today as my guest, and I must say he is a very, very good friend, longtime friend. So I would ask all members and guests to please rise for the invocation. Pastor.
Good morning.
Morning.
I first give praise to my Lord and Savior Jesus Christ, who's truly first in my life. I would like to thank him for waking me up this morning and starting me on my way. I want to thank him for giving me the strength to see a brand new day. I want to take the opportunity and thank my friend, President Councilman Darrell Clark, for this opportunity, and to the men and women of City Council for the opportunity to stand before you and give you praise, and give the Lord praise for you. Let us pray. Most gracious and Heavenly Father, who woke us up this morning and started us on our way, we say thank you for giving us the strength to see a brand new day. From the rising of the sun till the going down of the same, you are most worthy to be praised. We say, Lord, that we ask that you watch over these men and these women as they do what thus saith the Lord, as they govern over this great city. We ask that you build that fence of protection around them, guide them, mold them, and lead them to the path that where there is only righteousness in your name's sake, that, Father God, they can continue to do the great work of this great city. We ask that you bless each and every one of them and their families and everybody that's gathered here under the sound of my voice, that you protect them, you watch them, and when they leave this place, Father God, send them back home to their families in the way that they came. In Jesus' most precious name we pray, amen.
Amen. Thank you, Councilor Biddies. Pastor, thank you so much for that invocation and your spiritual guidance this morning. We really appreciate it, and we need it. Our next order of approval is the approval of the journal of the meeting of Thursday, April 27, 2023, and the chair recognizes Councilwoman Bass.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move that the journal of the meeting of Thursday, April 27, 2023, be approved.
It has been moved and properly second that the journal of the meeting of Thursday, April 27, 2023 stand approved. All in favor indicate by saying aye. Those opposed, ayes have it, and our journal is approved. And our next order of business is request for leave of absence. And the chair recognizes Councilman Jones.
Thank you, Mr. President. On behalf of the members of council, there are no requests for leaves of absence today.
Chair thanks the gentleman. Chair recognizes Councilwoman Bass for a motion concerning certain legislative matters that may arise during the course of today's session of council that were not listed on the calendar circulated prior to today's agenda.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move that any of the following matters, if considered today, may be added to the agenda for this session of council, and, as required by law, subsequently published on an amended agenda after the consideration of those matters. Resolutions authorizing hearings, amendments to bills on first reading, the reconsideration of a bill vetoed by or recalled from the mayor, amendments to bills recalled from the mayor, resolutions taking substantive action to be voted on in this session, a motion to withdraw a bill or resolution that is not on the calendar, and a motion placing a bill or resolution on or returning a bill or resolution from the suspension calendar that is not listed on today's calendar. The purpose of this motion is to provide the public with notice concerning possible actions by council that arose too late to be included on the calendar that was published prior to today's session.
Thank you. It's been moved and probably second that the legislative matter stated by Councilwoman Bass may be added to the agenda for today should those matters arise during the course of this council session. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, ayes have it. Motion carries. And our next order of business is communications. And I'd ask the clerk to please read the messages from the mayor and any additional communications that he may have in his possession.
From the Mayor to the President and members of the Council of the City of Philadelphia, I am pleased to advise you that on May 1, 2023, I signed the following bill, which was passed by Council at its session on April 20, 2023, Bill number 230009AA. And that on May 1, 2023, I signed the following bills, which were passed by Council at its session on April 27, 2023, Bill numbers 220969 and 230150. And I am transmitting for the consideration of your honorable body a resolution proposing an amendment to the Philadelphia Home Rule Charter to allow the Administrative Board to relax restrictions on dual government employment by city employees. And I am transmitting for the consideration of your honorable body a draft of a resolution appointing Doug Hager, Joel Spivak, Shannon Maldonado, Edward Garcia, Nicole Weigand, Taylor Jenkins, and Elena Brennan, and Samantha Shorter, the Board of Directors for the South Street Head House District, and an ordinance providing for the submission to the qualified electors of the City of Philadelphia of a proposal set forth in a resolution approved by Council proposing an amendment to the Philadelphia Home Rule Charter to allow the Administrative Board to relax restrictions on dual government employment by city employees, and an ordinance authorizing the Commissioner of Public Property to enter into a sublease agreement with the McGee Hospital for Convalescents, doing business as McGee Rehabilitation Hospital, Jefferson Health, for use by the city of all or a portion of the premises located at 1617 John F. Kennedy Boulevard. And an ordinance authorizing the Commissioner of Public Property to enter into a lease agreement with Hope Plaza Incorporated for use by the city of all or a portion of the premises located at 2150 West Somerset Street. And an ordinance authorizing the Commissioner of Public Property to enter into a lease agreement with BAM RBC 1 LLC for use by the city of all or a portion of the premises located at 2807 through 2817 Southampton Road. And an ordinance authorizing the Commissioner of Public Property to acquire fee simple title or a lesser real estate interest to all or a portion of a parcel of land located in and about the area bounded by Castor Avenue, Richmond Street, Lewis Street, and North Delaware Avenue. And an ordinance authorizing the Commissioner of Public Property to enter into a lease agreement with Interport Business Complex Associates for use by the city of all or a portion of the premises located at 7801 Essington Avenue. And an ordinance authorizing the Commissioner of Public Property to enter into a sublease agreement with the Philadelphia Municipal Authority for use by the city of all or a portion of the premises located at 8716 through 20 Frankfurt Avenue, and an ordinance authorizing the Commissioner of Public Property to convey to the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania all or a portion of a parcel or parcels of land in and about the area bounded by Belmont Avenue, Mantua Avenue, 42nd Street, and West Girard Avenue. And an ordinance authorizing the Commissioner of Public Property to grant to the Pennsylvania Department of Transportation an easement on a portion of the parcel or parcels of land in and about the area bounded by Market Street, 24th Street, Spruce Street, and the Schuylkill River. and an ordinance authorizing the Commissioner of Public Property to enter into a lease agreement with Impact Services Corporation for the use by the city of the premises located at 1952 East Allegheny Avenue, all under certain terms and conditions.
Thank you, Mr. Decker. That concludes our communication for today, and our next order of business is the introduction of bills and resolutions. And I would ask the clerk to please read the title of the legislation that's being offered today.
Councilman Thomas offers a privileged resolution honoring and congratulating the champions of the week, public servants Zelma Carroll, Darlene Booker Jones, Cheryl Colubrial, and Sarah Jones, who devote their lives to benefiting the city of Philadelphia for the common good.
Chair recognizes Councilman Thomas.
Good morning, Council President. Good morning, colleagues. I just want to take a moment to acknowledge the fact that last week the City Council body passed a resolution naming the month of May as Public Servant Month, as we look to recognize the different workers in city government and let them know that they're very much appreciated. The people that we are recognizing today are all amazing people who've done great work for the city of Philadelphia, and we want to give them their flowers while they can still smell them. I also want to take a moment to recognize our former DC Council President. I know that resolution is going to happen a little later today, but unfortunately I won't be able to be here. So, Council President, I also would like to take a leave for today's session and be recorded as aye on all bills and resolutions.
Thank you, Councilman. And that will be on today's calendar, and leave shall be granted to Councilman Thomas.
Councilman Jones offers one bill and one resolution. On behalf of Council President Clark, an ordinance authorizing the Commissioner of Public Property to enter into a sublease agreement with the McGee Hospital for Convalescents doing business as McGee Rehabilitation Hospital, Jefferson Health, for use by the city of all or a portion of the premises located at 1617 John F. Kennedy Boulevard.
Next week's calendar.
And on his own behalf, Councilman Jones offers a non-privileged resolution also naming the 6,000 block of Callawhill Street as Bishop O.T. Jones Way.
Next week's calendar.
Councilman Johnson offers two bills and four resolutions. Entitled an ordinance authorizing the Commissioner of Public Property on behalf of the City of Philadelphia to enter into a lease agreement with Interport Business Complex Associates for use by the city of all or a portion of the premises located at 7801 Essington Avenue.
Heard the committee.
And an ordinance authorizing the Commissioner of Public Property to grant to the Pennsylvania Department of Transportation an easement on a portion of the parcel or parcels of land in and about the area bounded by Market Street, 24th Street, Spruce Street, and the Schuylkill River.
Heard the committee.
And a privileged resolution celebrating the 75th anniversary of the foundation of the State of Israel.
This week's calendar.
And a privileged resolution authorizing the Committee on Education to hold hearings to evaluate existing support services for early childhood education and pre-K centers and providers, and to examine the role of high-quality early childhood education and pre-K opportunities in addressing childhood poverty and promoting the future academic success of children in Philadelphia.
Chair recognizes Councilman Johnson.
Council President, I just want to take a moment as you introduce the next resolution honoring and recognizing Mika Outlaw for the heroism and bravery she exhibited while providing aid to a 3-year-old child injured by gunfire this past Sunday on April the 30th of 2023 in Grays Ferry, South Philadelphia. Mika Outlaw, who's a local resident in Grays Ferry, was unloading groceries out of her car when she noticed a mother and child in distress, and the child was hit by gunfire. Ms. Outlaw drove the child and mother to the Philadelphia Fire Department, engine 47 on Grays Ferry Avenue, while alerting first responders. The first responders immediately jumped in and stabilized the boy and rushed him to Children's Hospital of Philadelphia, where he is now in a stable condition. And so I want to take a moment. I've known Ms. Mika Outlaw for several years as a community leader. She's also a teacher. She's also a graduate of my alma mater, Mansfield University. But most importantly, it's acts of bravery and heroism such as this that all Philadelphians should take notice of when we see incidents of gun violence taking place in the city of Philadelphia, particularly impacting our young people, and as opposed to videotaping the incidents taking place, actually getting involved in trying to save the life of a young person. So can we just take a moment and acknowledge this young lady, Mika Outlaw? Mika, can you please stand? Stand.
Thank you, Councilman, and thank you
Councilman.
so much. We really appreciate what you did. what you stand for. That will be on today's calendar.
Thank you.
And a privileged resolution honoring and recognizing Mika Outlaw for the heroism and the bravery she exhibited while providing aid to a 3-year-old child injured by gunfire.
Today's calendar.
And a privileged resolution honoring His Eminence, Dr. Samuel Emeka Kanu Uche, for his outstanding service to the Methodist Church of Nigeria and welcoming him to the city of Philadelphia.
Today's calendar.
Councilwoman Lozada offers an ordinance authorizing the Commissioner of Public Property on behalf of the City of Philadelphia to enter into a lease agreement with Impact Services Corporation for the use by the city of the premises located at 1952 East Allegheny Avenue.
For the committee. Hold on, Ms. Decker. If anyone has a device that makes any kind of sound, please turn it off on silent or airport mode or whatever. Bottom line, just please cut it off. Thank you. I'm sorry, Mr. Decker. Please proceed.
Councilwoman Vaughn offers a privileged resolution recognizing the Philadelphia section of the National Council of Negro Women Incorporated on the occasion of its 75th anniversary.
Calendar.
Councilman Harity offers a privileged resolution honoring Catherine G. Scott, President of AFS-CME District Council 47, and recognizing her leadership, activism, and representation of Philadelphia workers working to improve the lives of all Philadelphians.
Chair recognizes Councilman Harity.
Thank you, Council President. Today I'd like to honor Catherine Scott, President of AFS-CME District Council 47. Ms. Scott has dedicated her career to assisting those in most need of help, beginning with her career as a social worker in the Philadelphia prisons and the Riverview Home for the Aged. Ms. Scott took an active role in AFS-CME Local 2187 and quickly rose to key leadership positions. Ms. Scott has been a tenuous advocate for union labor and city employees, and in 2007 became the first female president of District Council 47. Ms. Scott continues to advocate for workers. Ms. Scott serves as the Vice President of the Philadelphia AFL-CIO and is a member of the Philadelphia Coalition of Labor Union Women, formerly serving as the Executive Board member. Ms. Scott also served on the Pennsylvania AFL-CIO Work and Family Committee and has been a delegate to the Pennsylvania AFL-CIO conventions, the District Council 47 Delegate Assembly, and AFS-CME International Conventions. Catherine Scott has dedicated her professional life to advocating for the rights of workers throughout Philadelphia and beyond, and her policies have achieved tangible results for which have meaningfully benefited the lives of Philadelphians. It is my privilege to honor Ms. Scott and express my sincerest admiration for her work. Ms. Scott.
Thank you. Thank you, Councilman. Chair recognizes Councilman Johnson.
Thank you, Council President. I want to also echo the sentiments of my colleague, Councilman Jim Harity, in regards to honoring Ms. Kathy Scott. I had the opportunity to meet Kathy Scott when I first became a council person, making a transition from being a state representative. And I've always admired her dedication, commitment, and most importantly, fighting for working class people. I remember when I made the transition from being a state representative to a city council person, I worked with SEIU on a state level, and then when I made a transition as a council person, I did a lot of work around the building trades, but when I became a council person, I understood that the hardworking class employees that work for the city of Philadelphia that come from District Council 47 actually keeps the city of Philadelphia moving forward. And so I remember your passion, your dedication, and your commitment of being on the front line, fighting for your members. And so I just want to personally say as well, congratulations and keep up the good work.
Thank you, Councilman. Chair recognizes Councilman Squilla.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'd like to welcome some folks that are here today. I'd like to welcome David Gibson and the Golden Rule Group. The Golden Rule is a sailing vessel touring the U.S. to promote the treaty on the prohibition on nuclear weapons. And the Golden Rule is a project for Veterans for Peace. It's a great group of folks who are out there really working hard to promote peace throughout the country, and we passed a resolution last week to bring attention to this cause. I'd like to give David welcome to council, and thank you for participating in this civic process.
Thank you. Thank you, Councilman, and congratulations. Thank you.
Councilwoman Gautier offers two bills and one resolution, entitled an ordinance revising parking regulations for the north side of 49th Street, Pascal Avenue to Grays Avenue, the east side of Grays Avenue, 49th Street to Lindbergh Boulevard, and the east side of Lindbergh Boulevard, Grays Avenue to Harley Avenue.
Refer to committee.
And an ordinance delegating to the Streets Department the authority to establish certain parking restrictions by regulation on both sides of Walnut Street between 40th Street and 63rd Street.
Refer to committee.
And a non-privileged resolution renaming the 5200 block of Wyalusing Avenue Nehemiah Davis Way.
Next week's calendar.
Councilman Driscoll offers two bills, entitled an ordinance authorizing the Commissioner of Public Property to acquire fee simple title or a lesser real estate interest to all or a portion of a parcel of land located in and about the area bounded by Castor Avenue, Richmond Street, Lewis Street, and North Delaware Avenue.
Refer to committee.
And an ordinance authorizing the Commissioner of Public Property to enter into a sublease agreement with the Philadelphia Municipal Authority for use by the city of the premises located at 8716 through 20 Frankfurt Avenue.
Refer to committee.
Councilman O'Neill offers an ordinance authorizing the Commissioner of Public Property to enter into a lease agreement with BAM RBC 1 for use by the city of all or a portion of the premises located at 2807 through 2817 Southampton Road.
Refer to committee.
Councilman Squilla offers 8 resolutions, entitled a resolution appointing Doug Hager to the Board of Directors for the South Street Head House District, and a resolution appointing Edward Garcia to the Board of Directors for the South Street Head House District, and a resolution appointing Eleanor Brennan to the Board of Directors for the South Street Head House District, and a resolution appointing Joel Spivak to the Board of Directors for the South Street Head House District, and a resolution appointing Nicole Weigand to the Board of Directors for the South Street Head House District, and a resolution appointing Samantha Shaw to the Board of Directors for the South Street Head House District, and a resolution appointing Shannon Maldonado to the Board of Directors for the South Street Head House District, and a resolution appointing Taylor Jenkins to the Board of Directors for the South Street Head House District.
Refer to committee.
Councilwoman Bass offers an ordinance authorizing the Commissioner of Public Property to enter into a lease agreement with Hope Plaza Incorporated for use by the city of all or a portion of the premises located at 2150 West Somerset Street.
Next week's calendar.
There are no other bills or resolutions being offered today by the members, Mr.
Thank
President.
you very much, Mr. Decker. Our next order of business is reports from committee, and the chair recognizes Councilman Squilla for a report from the Committee on Finance.
Thank you, Mr. President. The Committee on Finance reports 3 bills with a favorable recommendation.
Thank you. Mr. Decker, please read that report.
To the President and members of the Council of the City of Philadelphia, the Committee on Finance, for which is referred Bill Number 230186, entitled an ordinance authorizing an increase in the non-electoral indebtedness of the city within the Pennsylvania constitutional limit, authorizing the Bond Committee to sell bonds at public or private negotiated sale to provide funds toward various capital municipal purposes, providing for the appropriations to the Sinking Fund Commission for the payment of such bonds, and authorizing agreements to provide credit or payment or liquidity sources for the bonds in connection with issuance of the bonds. And Bill Number 230250, entitled an ordinance amending Bill Number 190935 of the Council of the City of Philadelphia, approved by the Mayor on December 18, 2019, to authorize the refunding of additional series of outstanding general obligation bonds, authorizing the purchase by the City of Philadelphia from time to time of any of its outstanding general obligation debt, authorizing the amendment, novation, or termination from time to time of any agreement to manage interest costs incurred in connection with the City of Philadelphia's general obligation debt, and further amending said ordinance, Bill Number 190935, to authorize the payment by the City of Philadelphia from proceeds of general obligation refunding bonds of any required settlement payments and related required amounts in connection with the termination of any such agreements to manage interest costs. And Bill Number 230251, entitled an ordinance authorizing and approving the execution and delivery of one or more supplements to an existing service agreement or a new service agreement on substantially the same terms between the City of Philadelphia and the Philadelphia Redevelopment Authority relating to a comprehensive neighborhood transformation program. The issuance by the Philadelphia Redevelopment Authority from time to time of bonds, notes, or other evidence of indebtedness to refund bonds, notes, or other evidence of indebtedness issued to refinance such neighborhood transformation program, and the obligation of the City of Philadelphia to pay the amounts payable under such service agreement and authorizing certain city officers to take certain actions required to issue bonds, notes, or other evidence of indebtedness. With respect to the reports, it has considered the same and returns the attached bills to council with a favorable recommendation.
Thank you. Chair again recognizes Councilman Squilla.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move that the rules of council be suspended as to permit the first reading this day of bills number 230136, 230186, 230250, and 230251.
Thank you. It has been moved and properly second that the rules of council be suspended so as to permit the first reading this day of bills number 230186, 230250, 230251. All those in favor indicate by saying aye. Those opposed, ayes have it, and these bills will be placed on our first reading calendar today. Our next order of business is consideration of the calendar. I note that the bills just reported from committee with the suspension of the rules have been deemed to have had their first reading. They will be on our next reading final passage calendar at our next session of council. As there are no additional bills on the first reading calendar, the chair recognizes Councilman Jones for the purpose of calling up bills and resolutions on our final passage calendar today.
Thank you, Mr. President. The following resolutions and bills are being called up from second reading to final passage calendars today. Numbers 230-332, 230-333, 230-334, 230-337, 230-338, 230-339, 221-017, 221-018, and 230-0127. All other bills are being held.
Thank you, Councilman. Before considering the resolutions and bills, we will have our public comment session. It will go as follows. Your public comment must concern matters on the second reading and final passage calendar at our session for today. All speakers must sign up in order to testify. If you haven't already done so, you may sign up at the table outside of the council chambers with the Sergeant of Arms. Once you've signed up, you will be called in order. Once your name appears on the sign-up sheet, today we'll have 3 minutes to speak. We ask you to please adhere to that time limit. In order to be fair, we will hold faithfully to that time limit to allow an opportunity for everyone who wishes to speak to speak. When your 3 minutes have passed, when your time comes, you will see a podium on the device, on the podium. When the light turns green on that device, it will be your time to speak. When the light turns yellow, you will have 30 seconds to conclude your remarks. And when the light turns red, we'd ask that you adhere to our guidelines and conclude your remarks. I want to thank you very much for your participation today, and thank you for coming in and participating in your government in action. Mr. Decker, please call the first. Before we do that, Chair recognizes Councilwoman Gilmore Richardson.
Thank you, Council President. For the record, I'd like to be recorded as voting aye on the committee reports.
Okay, thank you. Let the record reflect that Councilwoman Gilmore Richardson was an aye vote on the committee report. Thank you, Councilwoman. Mr. Decker, please call the first name on the list.
The first speaker today, Mr. President, is Brenda Robinson, commenting on 230334.
Ms. Robinson, are you in attendance today? Brenda Robinson, not here. Mr. Decker, go to the next name on the list.
The next speaker is Kathy Scott, commenting on a resolution introduced today by Councilman Harity.
Good morning.
Good morning, Council President Clark. My name is Catherine Scott, recently retired president of AFSCME District Council 47. I want to thank City Council for honoring me today with the resolution that is before you. As all successful union leaders know, any successful career is a team effort. I have been fortunate to have been supported by wonderful officers and staff, some of whom have been able to join me here today. Yvonne Harris, Robert Harris, David Wilson. And I know that there are other people in the audience supporting me. April. And April Getz, who is I didn't see her on the other side, the president of District Council 47. Our attorneys at Willig, Williams, and Davidson have been invaluable to me in their advocacy on our union's behalf. But most of all, I have to have the support of the members, first of Local 2187, and later the locals of District Council 47. And of course, I have always been supported by my family. Without this incredible team effort, I would not be receiving this recognition today. I have seen our union grow over many years of involvement in the labor movement, but the newfound energy in organizing and fighting for workers' rights and basic human rights is a joy for me to see. Our newest members, cultural workers working for wealthy nonprofits, have had to fight for the rights to be in a union. As Frederick Douglass said, power concedes nothing without a demand. It never did, and it never will. I can enjoy my retirement now, knowing that District Council 47 is in good hands with its new leadership. And again, I want to thank City Council for acknowledging me today. I have had a wonderful career, and I've worked with many of you, and it has been a joy to work with City Council too. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Also, my name is Yvonne Harris, and I wanted to also recognize...
This states your name for the record.
I'm sorry, Yvonne Harris.
Thank you.
And we also have a certificate from the Senate of Pennsylvania, also recognizing Kathy and congratulating her. So this is also from Senator Vincent Hughes and the Senate of Pennsylvania. Thank you.
Thank you. Chair recognizes Councilman Jones.
So my comment was covered by the Senate. I would be remiss if I did not recognize District Council 47's contribution to Senator Hughes. That's where he came from. And how much he was grounded in the labor movement based on that experience. So congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much, and thank you for your commitment and your contribution to the city of Philadelphia. Mr. Decker, next name.
Lynn Landis, commenting on 210913.
Good morning.
Good morning. My name is Lynn Landis, founder of wildfoodies.org and healthalertphilly.org. I'm speaking on behalf of Resolution 210913, authorizing City Council to retain legal counsel to file a lawsuit to require the administration to implement and enforce the Healthy Outdoor Public Spaces Act. Its aim is to end the use of toxic pesticides in public parks and on public grounds. Besides the issue of the mayor's non-enforcement of laws that City Council has passed, which I addressed last week, there are two other challenges facing Parks and Rec on this issue: cost and staffing. Some say that these toxic pesticides are cheaper and easier to use than manual and mechanized landscaping. That may be true, but it is not an excuse to poison people and the planet, plus contaminate our drinking water. Secondly, staffing has reached a crisis point, not just for Parks and Rec, but also for many other city departments. The situation is so dire that the mayor has provided in his budget $1.9 million to the Office of Human Resources, and City Council has created a special committee on retention and recruitment for municipal workers to help alleviate the crisis. I would like to offer a few suggestions to the mayor and City Council on this matter. Please end any remaining COVID mandates. Hire back the workers that the city fired because of these ill-conceived mandates, and then promise the public to never again engage in such behavior as to not listen to the many doctors, scientists, and activists who warned early on in this pandemic against the mandates in general, but particularly against the vaccines. Hold hearings on lessons learned from the COVID disaster and promise current and potential city employees and the public that the city government of Philadelphia has learned from the COVID disaster and will now and forever support free speech and medical freedom, not censorship and medical tyranny. Thank you.
Thank you for your testimony. We appreciate it.
The next speaker is Mama Gail Clouden, commenting on 221015.
I am Mama
Good
Gail.
morning.
Good day. I am Mama Gail Stewart Clouden. I say my maiden name in honor of my ancestors. And lady, thank you. Miss, who came before me, hello, thank you, thank you, thank you. Because it's people like you that kept coming that got these people jobs. That's why they're able to sit here, because people like you that people felt were agitators, that's why they're sitting here now. No more abatements at the detriment of the poorest populace of Philadelphia. I stand here on this day of our Lord, May 4th, 2023, to declare, to decree, and I claim in honor of our ancestors that the poorest of the poor of our people in this city should not be taken advantage of. I've been standing for many, many years for those that don't speak for themselves, those that can't, and those that won't. In 2015, the United Nations declared that this is the decade of the descendants. This is reparations time. How dare this be continued? It has to stop. That the people that were supposed to be freed have not been freed because of those that kept coming and holding them back. How do you have the time, the period when people said, it's your time, you're free? And then the slave master get paid as a result of losing his workforce. That time is over, and I'm standing to declare, claim, and decree. It's over. Enough is enough. That bill that you want to keep giving people abatements has to stop. When we're not getting what we're supposed to get, and you all keep saying we don't have enough money. If you charge people what they should be paying, you would have enough money. If the school district stopped wasting money, they would have enough money. I don't have a lot to say because I know that karma is real. And I want you to have the day that you all deserve. And that's what the young people are saying. Have the day that you deserve each and every day. Stand up and do right because it's the right thing to do. Stand up for those that can't speak for themselves. And stop saying yes to stuff that don't make sense. It's not fair. Equity is real, equality is real, and it's time for that. We're in a city that stopped the whole city as a result of a black woman saying 8 black men should have a job that's not back-breaking. And the whole city, unions all over, They went on strike. The President of the United States the President of the United States had to say, either you go back to work or you go to war. Stop this.
Thank you.
Because it's the right thing to do.
Thank you. Thank you for your testimony.
The next speaker is Horace Clouden, commenting on 221015.
Morning.
Good morning. Horace Clouden, member of the Parent Community Advisory Council to the Board of Education, a member of Mama Gail's Community Education Network. I also come here to say no to that bill 221015. Because here again, if you say yes, then there won't be any money going to the school district. Now, since I'm talking about the school district, I'm not asking for money for the school district to open the 5 indoor pools owned by the school district because they have the money, they have the staff. We're asking the district to bring back swimming as a curriculum. To do that, they need all 7 pools to come under Sayre Aquatic Center, responsible for programming and oversight. And there has been a proposal that has been submitted. All 7 pools are training facilities, and 5 of the 7 can provide springboard training. Here we have pools that not one of the city 71 pools can provide this type of service. We ask all city council to provide the pressure to make this happen. This is a benefit to the entire city. My comment is this, for those who was in the education committee and talked to the superintendent the other day, all your concerns have already been said to the superintendent through his listening sessions. You haven't said anything new that no one else has brought to the attention of the superintendent. One of the examples was 0%. There was one school that had 0% in student achievement, or what they said 0% in math and 7% in English. But can you imagine back in 2018, 2019, there was 24 high schools out of 52 high schools that had 0%. The 9th graders tested in at 0% in student achievement. So then from 2018, 2019, then we had COVID, then we had virtual learning, and guess what? That number probably is true today. Because what the school district is saying today is that they have no data. So when we talk about, or when you talk about, or everybody talks about asbestos in the schools, and they want to close the school and then put them into virtual learning, well, guess what? Virtual learning isn't, how can I say it? You can't demand virtual learning on the households of the students. What the district has to do is provide another brick and mortar facility to have virtual learning if they're going to teach virtual learning. I mean, this has been presented to the board. They have it, policy 520.1. If you look it up, it states it right there. So I'm just saying that the school district is doing things that are illegal. You get caught up in the narratives. Oh, we got lead, we got asbestos. We always had these things.
Okay.
Open up the 5 pools.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for your testimony. We appreciate it.
The next speaker is Leah Clouden, commenting on 221015.
Good morning.
Leah Clouden. Good morning. So I'm going to second and third the things that both my parents were saying. This city has totally failed the residents. And I'm going to say the black residents especially. You talk about in the name of deteriorated properties and dilapidated communities or whatever for this abatement, but it is the own city that did not do their due diligence and go after those people with those properties. Those people could afford it. I'm not talking about just those single homes that were, people passed away. But I even have a property next to my own property where the bank owns it. The people passed away 30 years ago, mother and son. 30 years ago, the building was torn down. We have been taking care of that property for over 30 years, just cleaning the yard. The only time we called the city was to pick up the people from the people dumping. I think about all those things that the city did not do their due diligence, and because of that, the residents have to pay double and triple property tax. You got all these people coming in that are building almost skyscrapers in residential neighborhoods. It's not right. And they get abatements. Also, they purchase those properties for $1. I've been on the Atlas to see how much people are paying for these properties. They're building strip malls. This is ridiculous. You got to do what's right. They need to pay their way. Also, the school district has failed since Dr. Haidt was here. That man had took this school district down to 8% away from total failure. 8%. You got another man that has come in, and now for almost 2 years, it's conversation. There has been no movement. They could say, oh, we made improvement, but that's still an F. It's still an F. We're still being failed, and the children are crying out. They are in the street losing their minds because they don't have adults to step up and do the right thing. They don't need money. They need accountability. Everybody needs to be held accountable. I called about my trash. I still can't get my trash picked up. It's still sitting out there. I've been going through this for 3 years. They cut the grass across from the park, across from my house, and the only thing they do is they use the blowers and they push all the trash in a pile and leave it in the park. And then they take the outside after they're finished cutting and they push it into the street. So that's why we have these trifling streets that we have. Then you got the poles outside. Did y'all even do a test study to see if that can mess with your brain? All these little white poles and yellow poles. It has to be some accountability. The city is not doing right by its residents. Thank you.
Thank you for your testimony.
The next speaker is Ogbona Higgins, commenting on 230332.
Morning.
Ogbona Higgins, Hagins. I'm speaking on this resolution calling for Pennsylvania House of Representatives to pass House Bill 338-714-731. Basically, it's addressing reasonable firearm restrictions. Firearm restrictions are not the answer for reducing gun violence. There was a report written in the New York Times titled Childhood's Greatest Danger, the Data on Kids and Gun Violence. I suggest that you read this and other data on youth and gun violence. Based on these resolutions that you are introducing, I can tell that you are not communicating with the people of this city, and especially the youth. Not only does the New York Times article, as well as other data, indicate that poverty is one of the major reasons for youth gun violence and youth crime. The thousands of youth who I have personally spoken with over the past few months also indicate that fact. They are telling me that they are involved in the street culture because of economics, because they don't have any money. It is obvious to me that there needs to be leadership change in this body. Not only are you not listening to the people, you are not studying the data that clearly indicates that crime and violence is a result of poverty, and there is nothing that this body has done to solve this issue. As you know, I published a hip hop magazine. How many of you listen to hip hop to listen to what the youth are actually saying? They're crying out. What are you doing to decrease the economic wealth gap? It's poverty, y'all. Let me tell you what this violence is all about. The youth are lashing out. You know the saying, hurt people hurt people. So all I'm asking you to do is understand those who are hurting and do something about it. The gun restriction, yeah, that might help a little bit, but the reality is it's not going to stop because crime and violence is a result of poverty.
Thank you for your testimony.
The next speaker is David Gibson.
Good morning.
Morning, David Gibson. I'm with, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
I'm with Peace, Justice, Sustainability Now. We are an associate group of National Peace Action, and we're here to thank Councilman Squilla and the council for passing the citation honoring the Golden Rule. The Golden Rule is a 34-foot wooden ketch whose first voyage was an attempt to prevent U.S. nuclear bomb testing in the Marshall Islands. And it was the inspiration for all the other ships that went out and did that. It really kind of got Greenpeace going on the whole thing. And it was the beginning of a series of grassroots efforts in the United States and around the world to end the scourge of nuclear weapons. At one point, we had 70,000 nuclear weapons armed and ready to go on first strike warning. We've reduced that now, thanks to the efforts of many, many people, including the folks in the Golden Rule, to a little over 7,000. That's way too many, but it's much better than what we had before. So we need to keep moving in the right direction. And the Golden Rule's trip right now is to educate people and raise up the awareness of the fact that thanks to the passage in the UN of the Treaty on the Prohibition of nuclear weapons are now illegal. They are illegal around the world. But all the countries that have nuclear weapons, including the United States, have not yet signed on to this treaty. My partner, my brother here is going to talk about that in a minute. So the Golden Rule will be here, will be arriving at Penn's Landing around 4 o'clock on the 9th. It'll be here till the 13th. Actually, it'll leave the morning of the 14th. And there's going to be a series of events around the city where people can attend to find out about the history of the Golden Rule, which is deep and broad, and what people can do to get the United States to sign on to the treaty on the prohibition of nuclear weapons. So I'm going to leave it at that. Thank you again, Councilman Squilla, and I'm going to also introduce my brother here, Wilson Spinell.
Thank you.
He's with Vets
Thank
for
you
Peace,
for your
by the way,
testimony.
who are the people who brought this ship to Philly.
Thank you. Thank you for your testimony. Next speaker.
The next speaker is Wilson Spurnell.
Good morning. My name
Good morning.
is Wilson Spurnell. My story is pretty short. And I want to thank the City Council for their resolution supporting the Golden Rule. When I was 17 years old, back in 1964, I joined the United States Army. Just maybe a year before we got involved in Vietnam. In my training, I went through 2 months of basic training, 2 months of artillery crewman training, and then they sent me to a special school. I was 17 years old. The special school was Tactical Nuclear Weapons Assembly. Our practice materials were made out of depleted uranium rather than actual fissile uranium. When I came home from that training, a friend of mine said, "You know, the FBI was just here investigating you." I'd missed him by 1 day. I went to Tactical Nuclear Weapons School without anybody having invested my background, and I have no doubt that there's thousands of men in a similar position to mine. I'm scared to death. The Russians have threatened to use tactical nuclear weapons in the Ukraine, and that's a really bad road to go down because it just gets worse. and maybe those tactical nuclear weapons get used, and then bigger weapons. And I'm scared to death for that. I have children, grandchildren, and a great-grandson who's going to be 12 years old in August. And that's just my kids personally, and I'm scared to death for them. The United Nations last year put this treaty for the prohibition of nuclear weapons. It was passed last year, and it has become international law. But like Dave said, none of the major countries holding all these weapons have signed on to it. The City Council passed a resolution to encourage the United States to sign on. All the other big countries with nukes are waiting on the United States to do something. And City Council, again, I thank you. You passed a resolution encouraging the federal government to do that. City Council passed a resolution making Philadelphia a nuclear-free zone. Let's see. That's all my comments. I just encourage you to come down and support the Golden Rule. It's a peace mission. It's a non-proliferation mission. And it'll be in Philadelphia, as Dave said, between May the 9th and May the 13th. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for your testimony, and thank you for your service.
The next speaker is Yolando Taylor, commenting on 230332.
Hello and good morning. My name is Yolanda Taylor, also known in communities as the Black Family Ambassador. I'm here, I would like to address, not coincidentally, also gun restriction, but hopefully on a 3-minute span time, what I have heard from others that spoke today. Guns definitely have bullets to kill people, but I feel that people kill people. As an active member at NRA, I don't believe that the restriction will alleviate the problem, because the problem lies in the individual, especially our youths, and there are multiple reasons why. One, there's no structure. I'm still trying to understand in the city with 8,000 nonprofit organizations, why is it on a daily, whether I'm in North Philly, South, whatever, in these communities, I can't see one program that gives our children an alternative other than standing on the street. And some of them don't want to stand on the street. We have to understand where our kids come from. Some of them are on the street because inside their home, it's that bad. You know what I'm saying? We're running programs, unfortunately, for 14, 15-year-olds, teaching them how to use Narcan, God forbid, for their parents. So I feel that the problem lies with either us not really understanding what the needs of our community is, which are these kids. My personal fight is DHS. I feel that they have too much power, and they're not governed by any party, and they are taking some kids out of structure, instead of leaving them where they are getting love and structure, because a lot of these kids are traumatized and feel that their own family turn their backs on them. As far as the school system, let me just touch up on that real quick. Work for the school system, quit the school system. I have a problem with the people within the school system. One, they don't look like our brown and black kids. That's first of all. They don't even live in our communities. They show up just for a paycheck. They have no concern. They don't want our kids to learn, and I'm going to tell the truth and shame the devil up in here today. So that's half the problem. When I walk down in the school and all I see is YouTube, all that is a daycare for our children. As far as a budget, they have a budget, but I'm just going to play devil advocate real quickly, okay? You have a budget, you have a room down there of, let's say, 20,000 books. Because of how the books were bought, instead of going and putting them on the curb outside so our kids can learn how to read and parents walk by and pick those same books up that you're going to trash so our children can learn to read, if you as your parent willing to do that or someone else, those books go in the garbage because of how they were paid by the school board, but they're not being implemented in the school, nor are you given an alternative to give those books to our community. And that's pretty much what I got right now. Also, I just also have to say this in all truthness. The problem does lie in the body sitting in front of me. This is my first meeting. I feel that you guys are chosen by your community, represent your community, and you guys have far-fetched gone from your community. It's my understanding, you know, in most communities throughout the state, the medium that you make as city council is 45% of what the medium is in the city, and there's an uneven proportion, and you guys aren't visible in your community.
Thank you. Thank you for your testimony.
There are no other speakers on the public comment list, Mr. President.
Thank you very much, Mr. Decker. That concludes our public comment for today. Again, I want to thank you all for participating in your government in action. We will now consider the bills and resolutions on the second reading and final passes calendar today. And I would ask the clerk to please read the title of resolution number 230332.
A resolution calling on the Pennsylvania House of Representatives to pass House Bills 338, 714, 731, and 1018, which address reasonable firearm restrictions that will enhance the safety of all Pennsylvanians and Philadelphians.
Thank you. The chair recognizes Councilman Jones.
Thank you, Mr. President. Briefly, gun violence is not the result of one thing. It is the result of many things colliding together, causing the catastrophe that we have on our streets in Philadelphia. But in order to address gun violence, you have to not swallow it whole, you have to take it apart, piece by piece, whether it's poverty, whether it's the lack of education, whether it is lack of, as Catherine Gilmore Richardson puts it, intervention, teaching nonviolent intervention and the tools to be able to de-escalate that are not being taught, sometimes at home. So we can either just look at the problem, curse at it through the windows, or we can take one step at a time to resolve it. And what I'm proud about this organization is that we didn't just wake up and realize there was a problem. From the time you first introduced a bill that was common sense gun laws, we've been sued, we've been threatened, but we keep on fighting. And I'm proud of us for that. With that, I move for the adoption of the resolution.
It's been moved and properly second. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, ayes have it, and that resolution is adopted. Mr. Decker, please read the title of resolution number 230333.
A resolution authorizing the Commissioner of Public Property to execute and deliver to the Philadelphia Redevelopment Authority deeds conveying fee simple title to 268 Diamond Street in the 7th Councilmanic District.
Thank you. Chair recognizes Councilwoman Lozada.
The adoption of the resolution.
It's been moved and properly second. All in favor indicate by saying aye. Those opposed, ayes have it, and that resolution is adopted. Mr. Decker, please read the title of resolution number 230334.
A resolution renaming the 6,000 block of Locust Street Martha Green Way in honor of dedicated West Philadelphia community activist, compassionate mentor, and exemplary neighbor, Martha Green.
Chair recognizes Councilwoman Gauthier.
Thank you, Council President. I move for the adoption of the resolution.
It's been moved and properly second. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, ayes have it, and that resolution is adopted. Mr. Decker. 230337.
A resolution authorizing the Philadelphia Land Bank to dispose of 2148, 2150, 2154, and 2156 East Birch Street, 2032 East Lehigh Avenue, 2055 and 2057 East Rush Street, 2154, 2155, 2156, 2157, 2158, 2159, 2160, and 2161 East Stella Street, located in the 1st Councilmanic District.
Chair recognizes Councilman Squilla.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move for the adoption of the resolution.
It's been moved and properly second. All in favor indicate by saying aye. Those opposed, ayes have it, and that resolution is adopted. Mr. Decker, 230338.
A resolution authorizing the Philadelphia Land Bank to dispose of 1739 South 5th Street, 1919 South 6th Street, 2612 South 9th Street, 411, 418, 424, 432 through 34, 624 and 626 Cantrell Street, 424 and 426 Mercy Street, located in the 1st Councilmanic District.
Thank you. The chair again recognizes Councilman Squilla.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move for the adoption of the resolution.
It's been moved and properly second. All in favor indicate by saying aye. Those opposed, ayes have it, and that resolution is adopted. Mr. Decker, 230339.
A resolution adopting the report issued by Council's Special Committee on Retention and Recruitment of Municipal Workers.
Chair recognizes Councilman O'Neill.
Thank you, Mr. President. On your behalf, I move the adoption of the resolution.
It's been moved and properly second. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, ayes have it, and that resolution is adopted. Mr. Decker, please read the title of Bill Number 221017.
An ordinance amending Chapter 7200 of the Philadelphia Code entitled Preservation of Affordable Housing to modify certain requirements that must be met before a change in ownership, other disposition, or other change in property interest occurs with respect to certain affordable housing properties in Philadelphia.
Chair recognizes Councilwoman Gautier.
Council President, before we consider Bill 221017, I would like to take a few moments to discuss the significance of the legislation. A few weeks ago, the city and I announced a settlement with a property owner that opted out of their affordability contract. I am incredibly proud and consider the settlement a victory, but the outcome was far from equitable. 70 families will still be displaced from their homes. And while I am relieved that the UC Townhomes residents will receive the financial support they need to relocate to a neighborhood of their choosing safely and successfully, nothing can make up for the home and community they have lost. So if we learn nothing else from the UC Townhomes saga, it is that the city must take a bolder and more proactive approach to affordable housing preservation. Because the UC Townhomes are the very tip of the iceberg. If we do not change course now, over 12,000 families could also be kicked out of their homes. For too long, government has not lived up to its responsibility to preserve government-subsidized affordable housing. And while the city cannot keep every development online on its own, we can do much more to push back against the housing affordability crisis that is growing worse by the day. This is a critical moment in Philadelphia's history, and we must make a choice. Will we let economic forces discard working-class Black and brown residents from the neighborhoods they have built and stewarded, or will we wrap our arms around the 12,000 families facing the impending doom of displacement? The People's Preservation Package is a balanced, earnest step in the right direction that many other municipalities have successfully employed for years. It will help us to be better prepared to face the tidal wave of affordability opt-outs and give the city's affordable housing providers an opportunity to preserve affordable housing developments without disrupting the market. With so much at stake, inaction is not an option, and I urge all of you to join me in voting to adopt the People's Preservation Package into law. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Councilwoman. This bill having been read on 2 different days, the question now, shall the bill pass finally? Mr. Decker, please call the roll.
Councilwoman Bass. Councilwoman Brooks. Councilman Driscoll. Councilwoman Gautier. Councilwoman Gilmore Richardson. Councilman Harity. Councilman Johnson. Councilman Jones. Councilwoman Lozada. Councilman O'Neill. Councilman Phillips. Councilman Squilla. Councilman Thomas is voting aye. Councilwoman Vaughn. Council President Clark.
Aye, the ayes are 15 and nays are 0. Majority of members present voting in affirmative, the bill passes. Mr. Decker, 221018.
An ordinance amending Chapter 7200 of the Philadelphia Code entitled Preservation of Affordable Housing to provide for a city directory of affordable housing subsidies and their duration.
This bill having been read on 2 different days now, shall the bill pass finally? Mr. Decker, call the roll.
Councilwoman Bass. Councilwoman Brooks. Councilman Driscoll. Councilwoman Gautier. Councilwoman Gilmore Richardson. Councilman Harity. Councilman Johnson. Councilman Jones. Councilwoman Lozada. Councilman O'Neill. Councilman Phillips. Councilman Squilla. Councilman Thomas is voting aye. Councilwoman Vaughn. Council President Clark.
Aye, the ayes are 15, the nays are 0. Majority of members present voting in the affirmative, the bill passes. Mr. Decker, 230127.
An ordinance amending Section 2304 of the Philadelphia Code entitled Compensation for Members of Boards, Commissions, Committees, and Councils by revising the compensation for members of the Environmental Justice Advisory Commission.
This bill having been read on 2 different days, the question is, shall the bill pass finally? Mr. Decker, call the roll.
Councilwoman Bass, Councilwoman Brooks, Councilman Driscoll, Councilwoman Gaudier, Councilwoman Gilmore Richardson, Councilman Harity, Councilman Johnson, Councilman Jones, Councilwoman Lozada, Councilman O'Neill, Councilman Phillips, Councilman Squilla, Councilman Thomas is voting aye, Councilwoman Vaughn, Council President Clark.
Aye, the ayes are 15, the nays are 0. Majority of members present voting in the affirmative, the bill passes. Mr. Decker, you have any additional resolution?
A resolution honoring and congratulating the champions of the week, public servants Zelma Carroll, Darlene Booker Jones, Cheryl Colubrial, and Sarah Jones, who devote their lives to benefiting the city of Philadelphia for the common good, introduced today by Councilman Thomas.
Chair recognizes Councilman Jones.
On behalf of Councilman Thomas, I move for the adoption.
It's been moved to properly second. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, ayes have it, and that resolution is adopted.
And a resolution celebrating the 75th anniversary of the foundation of the State of Israel, introduced today by Councilman Johnson.
Chair recognizes Councilman Johnson.
Thank you, Council President. I move for the adoption of the resolution.
It's been moved to properly second. All in favor indicate by saying aye. Those opposed, ayes have it, and that resolution is adopted.
And a resolution authorizing the Committee on Education to hold hearings to evaluate existing support services for early childhood education and pre-K centers and providers, and to examine the role of high-quality early childhood education and pre-K opportunities in addressing childhood poverty and promoting the future academic success of children in Philadelphia, introduced today by Councilman Johnson.
Chair again recognizes Councilman Johnson.
Yeah, Council President College, I'm introducing this resolution based upon the work this body has done to provide high quality early childhood and pre-K education for our young people. Most of us know that the best pathway out of poverty is setting young people on a path to receive a quality education. And so as we make this transition into a new administration, we want to make sure that we have all the tools in the toolbox as it relates to making sure that daycare providers have the necessary support that they need, the daycare workers have high quality living wages so you can have quality teachers inside the classroom, and also as a result of the significant subsidies and funding that were provided by the federal government, which will be going away in September, there will be a significant amount of early childhood daycare providers that will be significantly impacted. Not so much the big daycare providers like Brightside Academies, but most importantly, the mom and pop daycare providers, early childhood providers that are in our neighborhoods that are providing high quality education to our young people. They will be significantly impacted. So this hearing will allow us to take a deeper dive in how we're supporting our most precious assets here in the city of Philadelphia, and that's our children. So with that, I move for the adoption of the resolution, Council President.
It's been moved to properly second. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, ayes have it, and that resolution is adopted.
And a resolution honoring and recognizing Mika Outlaw for the heroism and the bravery she exhibited while providing aid to a 3-year-old child injured by gunfire, introduced today by Councilman Johnson.
Chair again recognizes Councilman Johnson.
Thank you, Council President. I move for the adoption of the resolution.
It's been moved and properly second. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, ayes have it, and that resolution is adopted.
And a resolution honoring His Eminence Dr. Samuel Emeka Kanu Uche for his outstanding service to the Methodist Church of Nigeria and welcoming him to the city of Philadelphia, introduced today by Councilman Johnson.
Chair again recognizes Councilman Johnson.
Thank you, Council President. I move for the adoption of the resolution.
It's been moved and properly second. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, ayes have it, and that resolution is adopted.
And a resolution recognizing the Philadelphia section of the National Council of Negro Women Incorporated on the occasion of its 75th anniversary, introduced today by Councilwoman Vaughn.
Chair recognizes Councilwoman Vaughn.
Thank you, Council President. I'd like to vote on this next week because I have the guest coming in to greet council.
You want to do it next week?
Yes, sir.
Let the record reflect that the councilwoman has asked for a hold on this particular resolution until the next session of council.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
And a resolution honoring Catherine G. Scott, President of AFS-CME District Council 47, and recognizing her leadership, activism, and representation of Philadelphia workers working to improve the lives of all Philadelphians. Introduced today by Councilman Harity.
Chair recognizes Councilman Harity.
Council President, I move for the adoption of the resolution.
It's been moved and properly second. All in favor indicate by saying aye. Those opposed, ayes have it, and that resolution is adopted.
There are no other resolutions on the final passage calendar, Mr. President.
Thank you very much, Mr. Decker. Are there any speeches on behalf of the minority? Speeches on behalf of the majority. Chair recognizes Councilwoman Gilmore Richardson.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Council President. I wanted to pause to congratulate the administration, the city treasurer, the finance team led by Rob DeBoe, and our own council guru, Bob McDermott, and his team, Ami as well, for all of the work that they have done on the rating upgrade from Moody's and our positive outlook change from S&P Global Ratings. Our credit rating is now upgraded from an A2 to A1. And Moody particularly noted that our fund balance and our liquidity has improved over the last 3 years. So I wanted to notate that for this body. They also stated that the city continues to demonstrate prudent budget controls and fiscal governance, hallmarks of its improved financial performance over the past several years. The city projects substantial deposits to its Budget Stabilization Reserve, which we call BSR, from its general fund over the next 3 years, which will further support fiscal controls by requiring formal certification from the city's Director of Finance before monies can be transferred out of the BSR. The movement of monies into a more formal reserve fund eliminates potential political noise around the city's financial health going forward and further strengthens governance controls, another core aspect of the city's credit profile. So I also wanted to thank you, Council President, our leadership team, and all the colleagues here who voted in support of the legislation that I have offered around our Budget Stabilization Reserve to ensure that we make more regular annual deposits into our BSR. And I know because of the Moody's report that that legislation has made a difference to ensure that our credit rating can be upgraded from Moody's from an A2 now to an A1, which is our best financial outlook, I'd say, over the last 40 years. So I just wanted to say thank you, congratulations, and I look forward to continuing to do this work with all of you.
Thank you, Councilwoman. Very, very important part of what we do here. Stability, stability, stability fiscally. Chair recognizes Councilman Phillips.
Thank you, Council President. I want to begin by saying how excited I am that Zyler Recreation Center will be having a groundbreaking. And I want to thank my colleague, Councilwoman Sharon Vaughn, who's extremely excited right now about this, and all of those who from our Olney area, because what I've noticed is that our city, and I want to say Councilwoman Vaughn has been really a big advocate of making sure this happens. I want to thank the entire rebuild team for that support of what's about to come. What I've noticed in my walks and talks with neighbors throughout the past month is that there is a serious desire for infrastructure improvement in our city. It is our hope as a body, and particularly myself as a representative of the 9th District, that we work collaboratively together to make infrastructure a major priority in this budget season, but certainly when we are able to elect our next mayor of the city of Philadelphia. From driveways to retaining walls to simply, street damage that's happening across our city, infrastructure, and also most recently, our schools and Building 21 among many schools in the city. It is research says that quality life, if we take care of quality life in the city of Philadelphia, that is a great violence prevention measure. And so when we have decent neighborhoods and decent infrastructure, we will see crime go down. So I'm hoping and I'm praying and I'm just putting the city on alert that, this council member and hopefully among everyone else I work with collaboratively in the city to make sure that we are going to prioritize infrastructure and our funding and so forth, because many of our residents cannot afford what is said to be owned by the resident. We have to begin to think deeply about what it is that our city can do to help our residents support their infrastructure. And I want to thank the Council President Clark for also engaging on this conversation with me and others daily and weekly and monthly, because this is really important. So I just want to say infrastructure is going to be a major priority going forward.
Thank you, Councilman. That visit to your district last week and looking at that crumbling driveway where you literally had little small lakes in the driveway is a clear example of what we need to do in our community. So thank you for taking us up there to look at that. And I guarantee you that's going to be one of the first ones we address during our infrastructure strategy. Chair recognizes Councilman Jones.
Thank you, Mr. President. I rise today to acknowledge my colleagues Lozada, Harity, Vaughn, Squilla for the participation in the Kensington listening tour for the Marshall Plan. We as a body have different parts of the district. I have Main Street to Market Street. I've been down Point Breeze, been up to Chestnut Hill. And no neighborhood is safe until Kensington is safe. I've listened to my colleagues passionately talk about their community and what it needs. But what we hope to do with the Public Safety Committee at the leadership of Member Lozada is to listen, is to hear from the people and the stakeholders in Kensington and bring in tow most of the departments that have a role to play in its revival. Whether you're talking about SEPTA, to the police, to DHS, to mental health, all of them will listen to what the residents of the 7th District have had to go through and endure. So I look forward to all of our participation in this. If you paid attention to the budget, it doesn't take long for Member Harity, who is at large, but is a resident of Kensington, to come back to his roots and say, what are we doing about these aspects of the problem? What are the solutions? Member Lozada is on the cutting edge of pulling together a plan. It's not, being in someone's thoughts and prayers are one thing. Well, when you're done praying, you need to start thinking about what to do to solve the problem. So I look forward to the hearing. It is Tuesday at Conwell Middle School in the 7th District, but it is a part of the entire city. Until Kensington is safe and dealt with, no neighborhood in Philadelphia can be considered safe and dealt with. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Councilman. Chair recognizes Councilwoman Vaughn.
Good afternoon, everyone. I, too, want to give my 2 cents on the excitement that I do feel about the Recreation Center that Councilman Phillips is helping me improve. I started lobbying about 7 years ago, asking the past council person to improve that Recreation Center that was in deplorable state. I went out and painted the grounds. I hung new nets myself just to give the kids a better place to play. And we often get criticized as a body, but I want to say there is a lot of tremendous and wonderful things being done by the people that sit on the floor of this council on a daily basis. And oftentimes, we are not recognized by those things. And it's important that we remain solid, keep our heads up, and continue to do this important work. This is helping this community not deal with prostitution, dumping, and it's a classic example of putting the people first, and that is our job here. Thank you very much, everyone.
Thank you, Councilwoman. Chair recognizes Councilman Johnson.
Yes, thank you, Council President. Just a friendly reminder that on Monday at 9 p.m., the Committee on Transportation and Public Utilities will be holding a hearing on the Philadelphia Water Department proposed rate increase. And so a lot of colleagues...
Councilman, you said 9 p.m., you mean 9 a.m., right?
I said 9 p.m.?
I thought I heard 9 p.m.
Y'all know I got two toddlers, right?
Be kind of hard to get a quorum.
9 a.m. 9 a.m. on Monday, we will be having the Philadelphia Water Department proposed rate increase. And I know a lot of members pulled me to the side, and particularly Councilman Catherine Gilmore Richardson, in terms of the rate increase, the impact it will have on our constituents, and why we aren't using the funds from the federal government to kind of supplement the building of the infrastructure that needs to be done, as opposed to raising rates coming out of a pandemic. And so we wanted to make sure that this process is transparent, separate from the hearings, that the public hearings that they had, but it wasn't the same as having it with members of council. And so just wanted to make that announcement for Monday, 9 a.m., the rate increase, Philadelphia Water Department hearings. Thank you, Council President.
Thank you, Councilman. Chair recognizes Councilwoman Lozada.
Thank you, Council President. I just want to say thank you to all of my colleagues, Councilman Jones specifically, because when I met with him, I said to him that I needed Kensington to be as important to him as it is to me and to the residents who live there. I've met with many of you since I arrived in November, and all of you have been willing to listen and to hear from me what my constituency shares with me on a daily basis. And so I'm extremely grateful. I know that there have been many conversations. There's been a lot of talk across the board about the Kensington-Harrogate community, but it's different when you walk through it. It's different when you live in it. It's different when you have to go to school in it, and you have to just deal with it, right? Because it's part of their everyday. And our children struggle, our families struggle. They deserve an opportunity. I have had the opportunity to walk and visit their recreation centers, which I've been in many times as a resident. But when you're there as the representative of the district, you tend to see things in a different way. You see the negligence that's there. And the sad reality is that those who work there, who are responsible for maintaining those spaces, the businesses that are there that are struggling to just survive there, and who know that they can do something too but don't feel supported, is really difficult. And so I hope that in these hearings, we come in with open minds of what can we do different than what we've been doing in the past. We have to do something different. It is our responsibility. 20 years from now, we want young people to say that we had an opportunity to make a difference in their lives and that we stood up for them. I want to be able to do that. I want to be able to go to bed at night and say that every day I show up and give 150% to my community. And I hope that is what you all want as well. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Councilwoman. Thank you very much. That concludes our speeches on behalf of the minority and the majority. And with that, the chair recognizes Councilman Squilla for a motion to adjourn.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move the council stand adjourned until Thursday, May 11th, 2023 at 10 a.m.
Thank you. It has been moved and properly second. The council stand adjourned until Thursday, May 11, 2023, 10 a.m. All in favor indicate by saying aye. Those opposed, aye. Motion carries. Thank you all very much.